All right. Welcome to Fullerton in Focus. This is our first episode. I am Bella. Hello. I'm here today to be interviewing our wonderful Christian Hernandez, who is our manager for Parks and Rec. It
Hello.
is Parks and Rec month in July, so we thought it would be fitting to bring Christian on and get to know him a little bit more. So
Thank
tell
you,
us
Bella.
about yourself.
So, thank you, Bella, for inviting me. This is a pleasure, definitely. So, my name is Christian Hernandez, Parks and Recreation Manager here with the city of Fullerton. I've been in the city since February this year, but I've been working in Parks and Rec for the last 13 years now. So, that's my career path. So, I have a master's in public administration from Cal State Long Beach. Go Beach.
Go Titans.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard.
It is.
But overall, no, I'm very excited. Very excited to be on this interview with you today.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being here. We are so excited to get started on this podcast. This is something new that cities don't typically do, but it's something that can reach a larger audience and get to know a little bit more about Fullerton. So some things to go over. What we're going to talk about is Christian's experience in Parks and Rec. What does it mean to be in Parks and Rec? Again, just to really get to know Christian, and if anybody has questions in the future of how do I become a Parks and Rec professional? How do I get involved with the city departments? How do I move forward in all of this? This is a great opportunity for people to get to know that. So without further ado,
Awesome.
we'll go into our main discussion. Christian, can you tell us a little bit more about your experience in Parks and Rec? What's your past? You mentioned your public administration and your master's.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more, like how did you get involved in this world?
So there's always this saying that says you fall into Parks and Rec, right? You fall in love with Parks and Rec. Parks and Rec was not my first job. My first job was actually at Pat and Oscar's in the city of Orange. Go breadsticks. They were delicious. But, going to school, Parks and Rec was always the best option. You get to work the really fun schedules after school hours where you can go to school in the morning and then play with the kids. That's how I saw it. Play with the kids in the afternoon. And as a college student, you have Saturdays and Sundays off. So that was the perfect. I actually started with the city of Garden Grove in their neighborhood community center, just working after school programming, summer programming. And then I transitioned to the city of Costa Mesa and working in the teen centers. And I really enjoyed working with teens. It's a really interesting age group because they're coming out of elementary where they're not old enough yet to do like teenage activities, but they're also like right in the middle, right? Finding themselves. So that's kind of where I started working after school programs with teen centers, summer programs, and then ultimately kind of led into the sport. So I went to school for sports psychology, actually, sports psychology and leadership in Long Beach. And I kind of fit in with what my career and my day-to-day job was like. And once I finished school, I took a year off to like really find myself and identify what I want to do long-term in that investment. And I think the public service was my calling. So did my master's in public administration, had a couple of years in Costa Mesa, and then kind of transitioned to different cities, different experiences. I went down to San Diego County and I worked at Encinitas, which was a beach city. So I think if anybody has the opportunity to work at a beach city, take it. It's something you don't really have in those inland cities, lifeguards. Just dealing with the beaches, it's beautiful, but it's also a different type of challenge, right?
Absolutely.
So did that, came after COVID, came back to Orange County, and I was commuting every day, so I had to get closer. So that's where, landed in Tustin for a few years, and now in Fullerton. I'm excited to be here. And it also works. Parks and Rec works really well with kind of the family work-life balance. Because even though you're at work, your family can come to an event and it's like, oh, they're having fun at a concert and you're working. So you get to see your family as you're working, and that's really enjoyable. So that's kind of my background, Parks and Rec. I fell in love with it and I'm still in love with it.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for sharing. Kind of moving on to our next question. what are some key roles and responsibilities you have as a Parks and Recreation manager? So,
Yeah, I think overall is making sure that our department and our staff are reflective of the city's missions and goals. Each department has their responsibilities, but for us in Parks and Rec is community outreach, community programming, services. So just making sure that our staff are well aware of that and they represent the city in the best possible way. So, of course, there's the larger scale projects, the capital improvement projects, budgetary discussions, but overall it's just ensuring that day in and day out, our programs are serving the community and addressing any issues that community members, residents, or even visitors to our parks and facilities may have. So I think remembering that at the forefront gives me a clear perspective of like what we need to accomplish, where we need to head to. And it's very important because, we want to be a city in Fullerton that they say, oh, wow, they have the greatest parks and they have the greatest facilities. But I always go to their 4th of July events. I always go to their concerts in the park. I always go to their movie nights because they have a connection to, one, the community, and two, the staff. They remember the staff. So that's one of the major responsibilities, just making sure we're moving in the right direction and that I give staff the resources to be successful.
Awesome. I love that. Let's go to our next question. Can you share a memorable experience or project you worked on in your career? Kind of going based off of what you were just saying right now about these awesome concerts in the park, 4th of July, just a few of our great events that we have in the city.
So I think I've had a few like very memorable, early on in my career, kind of when I was first full time, I had experiences of in Costa Mesa, the LA Chargers called Costa Mesa their home for training. Mm-hmm. So I was part of the team because I oversaw sports facilities. So I was part of the team of that transition of bringing the LA Chargers over to, at that point, it was Jack Hammett Sports Complex and planning that. And that was huge because it was an NFL team in your little neighborhood.
Yeah.
And so being part of that, the challenges, the amount of money, that kind of the NFL has to just redo fields, facilities, and just build to their own, expectations. It's incredible. But then you also, that's on a larger scale. But I've also had the fortunate opportunity to, like I mentioned, I worked at a beach city and we had concerts on the beach, which is feet away from the shore, and that's beautiful. Or hosting 3-day carnivals, and so that's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and just serving so many people in the community. So I've been very fortunate and blessed to have that experience. But I think those are just a few of things I remember the most.
Yeah. And I mean, with Parks and Rec, there's so many opportunities.
All the time.
Yeah.
Good and bad, but
mostly
good.
Hey, we got to love that about this ever-changing and expanded department, right? You never...
Other duties as assigned.
Absolutely. That should be on every Parks and Rec title. Other duties as assigned.
Absolutely.
Always.
AKA.
Oh, there you go. All right. So we're going to move on. Some individuals are going to school for specifically Parks and Recreation. Maybe that has to do with the show that has wildly been popular in pop culture, but also that heart of wanting to serve the community and to give back to just this amazing place like Fullerton and so many other cities that you've mentioned that you've worked at. Going forward, though, for those young professionals, what advice would you give to them for trying to get their foot in the door into Parks and Rec?
I think you're right. Parks and Rec, the show, there's a Leslie Knope in all of us. There's a Ron Swanson in every single department, right? I think early on, Parks and Rec had the, kind of the stigma of just being like a fun profession. Like you work with kids, like I mentioned earlier, which is very true, but you're also taking care and the safety of those children, 20 to 30 kids. And their parents expect to pick them up every day, and that's your responsibility. So that's very important, right? And so on top of it just being a fun profession, I think it's also a very flexible profession. Especially here in Fullerton, for example, we run programs where we need the staff, and they're mostly collegiate students.
Yeah.
So we're very flexible. It's like, when can you work, right?
Mm-hmm.
And let's work around your schedule, because ultimately our programs and facilities are 6-7 days a week. So we need them.
Yeah.
I think what I've learned, and my biggest advice to the young professional, is just learn everything.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, you see it where like, oh, but I really like working summer camp only. Yeah, but if you work seniors, you kind of go full circle. You understand the senior population, you understand the kid population.
Yeah.
So it's very important to just kind of, if you're willing to learn and you're learning to advance your career, you just want to make sure you say, oh yeah, like I'll figure that out. I'll learn. What's the direction? I'll do it. And I think as, leaders, we'll never put staff in a position to harm them, or in a position that we think they're not going to be able to be successful. And we'll always provide the tools and resources for them to be successful, as long as they're willing to just say, yeah, I can do that. And I think that's been the most successful, advice that I received and that I give. Like, if they say, hey, can someone do that? Raise your hand.
Yeah.
Can someone plan this family night out? Raise your hand. Because if it's not within your city, those resources, you can ask your neighboring city and say, hey, how did you do that? And then bring it to your own city. So here in Fullerton, we're fortunate to have a very strong, part-time and full-time team in our department that have been with the city for so long and are always just willing to continue doing what's best for our department and our community.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like, everything you said really encompasses what it means to not only just work in Parks and Rec, but also as a government entity, especially local.
Yeah.
It's a lot of times it's all hands on deck. How are we going to help each other? Because really that's what it comes down to. That joke of all other duties assigned.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's true.
I mean,
It's
Parks
true.
and Rec is care and shelter in an emergency, right? Like, we're literally caring for families, kids, animals, and we're providing shelter. So if you're willing to just put yourself on the line for others, like, I think we do a little bit of everything, right? We plan.
Yeah.
We provide a safe haven for kids and families, and we provide resources. So, and we also can throw a party. Like, it's
we can.
So it's a little bit of everything. Absolutely.
Yeah. So going on to our next question. Christian, you're talking about all these experiences and how you have this, how long have you been in Parks and Rec? What would you say?
Yeah, now about 13 years.
Yeah. And so you're at that point of, man, you got to love it if you're still here, right?
Yeah.
So what do you love about Parks and Rec?
Things move slow, right? They say things move slow. So once you start working on a project, you might not see the project through because there might be some road bumps, or you might transition to other, projects or tasks or jobs. But I think what I truly love most, and I've seen this in the communities that I've worked in, and I think I've witnessed it here in Fullerton, where even with my fellow staff, like, the same individuals that experience the program are the same individuals that are serving the program.
Yeah.
So it's like full circle community.
Yeah.
Like, I was a product of after school programs. I was a product of, in city of Anaheim, Stoddard Park,
There you go.
playing after school. Like, I was a product of that.
Yeah.
And now that I'm able to see it and see maybe some of the staff or the kids now working it, it's very full circle moment. And that's what you love, because it's a home for everyone.
Yeah.
And I think we do so much that we forget the real reason why we do things. And at its core, Parks and Recreation is a service first profession. And we service everybody, right? We provide resources to everyone. So just seeing the same young, boy or girl now being part of that program in a different capacity. It can be as a volunteer. It can be as a staff member. It can, they can be bringing their kids to the program realistically. Like, that's what I love about it, that it just comes full circle and it impacts everybody in a positive way.
Absolutely. And you're right. A lot of people who do end up coming back into it are those after school kids.
Yeah.
I was one of the softball girls out there for City of La Mirada. So I was out there. I was doing that, you know. I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's very valuable. I think it gives you like some pride in your city, in your program. So it's really nice to see.
I agree. I love this question. I'm really curious to see what you think about the future of Parks and Rec. Where do you think we're going? How are we evolving? What do you see as the next step?
I think there's value in open space. There's value in outdoors. And I think we've seen after COVID, what was open first? The parks, right? Yeah. So there's something valuable there. With, AI technology, it's advancing the profession in positive ways. It's creating, new logos, new designs, new marketing schemes, and different ideas. But I think what most excites me about the future of Parks and Rec is that it's still growing. It's still growing. You see various departments that are bringing back programs. Various departments that may have a pool, but now they're doing in-house, swimming programs, or even excursions. And it's all ages, right? It's no longer just your summer camp. Like, seniors are going to different events and excursions. Like, it's still evolving, and I don't think it's reached its peak. But the most valuable asset is that we still have outdoor open play. Yeah. Outdoor spaces where people can just hang out. You can still have a picnic. Like, you take that for granted.
Absolutely.
In the era of fast food and convenience, like, you can go grab a burger, but you're still going to eat it at the park. It's really exciting to see that the open space is it's valued.
Absolutely.
And more activities are taking place.
Yeah. So. And I feel like people are really starting to see it too with, like you mentioned, that coming back from COVID, parks were the first things that were open, and people utilized that space immediately off the bat. And we've seen it on our end, like administrative side, of people are looking for parks to practice, to play. It's a high demand, and you don't realize it's a high demand until you're here and you're like, wow, that's incredible.
Absolutely. I mean, just think of the last fun, free activity you had with your family. Yeah. Right? It probably incorporated going to a park, going to your local farmer's market, going to your local special event. Like, those are all free events that everyone's invited to, and it's on an open public space. Yeah. So I think, we definitely take that for granted sometimes, but it's nice to just get outdoors, go on a trail hike, and that's really very exciting for the new generation that they're outdoor first versus indoors.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you're really starting to see that because a lot of these kids, unfortunately, we think of COVID babies, right? You had to stay in your house for how long, right? And so only now are not only people that are younger, like toddlers, but also people that are my age in their early 20s who missed graduation, who missed a lot of things because of it. There's a lot of things that were missed out. And you're right, those free events are usually city-centered, and people don't realize that. Yeah. And that's incredible that we have that, especially in Fullerton, where we have, over 50 parks here? Absolutely. And we have miles and miles of trails, right? And it is really that outdoor space. People are starting to value it and really see a deeper appreciation for it.
I agree. Our downtown plaza here in Fullerton, it hosts the farmers market from April to August. It's 24 Thursdays out of 52 weeks, right? That's almost half the year now. And then you talk about all the special events that are held at the plaza that are just free to the community. It gives you an opportunity to just go walk and explore and really kind of reemphasize why you live here, why you want to visit here, why you love Fullerton. And it's just beautiful. It really is. So I think the profession is going in the right direction. In all aspects, and I think it'll continue. Like, we're professionals, but we're reckies at heart, right? We like to have a fun in a safe manner, and I think we reflect that and we showcase that.
Oh, absolutely. We do.
Yeah.
We do like to have fun.
We do. A little bit of fun doesn't hurt anybody.
Absolutely. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about before we kind of...
No. I think
up?
this is really being able to really highlight Parks and Rec is I appreciate you taking the opportunity to do so. I think everybody still has maybe a sense of like, oh, it's just an after school program. It's just playing basketball with the kids. But I mean, that one person that played basketball with the kids played basketball with Kobe Bryant, played basketball with Michael Jordan, played basketball with your local,
they did.
Whether it's in a public sector or like a Boys and Girls Club, YMCA, like we're really making differences in kids' lives at a young age. And we're giving them that opportunity to be successful at an early age. So Parks and Rec is very important. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I totally agree. Thank you for sharing your story with us and sharing your insight on what it means to be a Parks and Rec professional, what it means to just love being, frankly, just a kid at heart.
Yeah.
That's what most of us are. We really just love to play at the end of the day. And it's incredible. Thank you, Christian, for joining us on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me.
First guest.
Very excited. You see, Parks and Rec breaking barriers.
There you go. Making a difference. Just saying.
I know.
This is the first step moving forward for Parks and Rec for the city of Fullerton. It's a very exciting opportunity, and I'm glad I got to share this moment, this opportunity with you.
Me too. Thank you, Bella, for having me, making me feel comfortable.
Gotcha.
Just having a conversation about, I think, something we both love, and we can share it with the rest of Fullerton.
Absolutely. And
right.
Thank you guys for being here. These episodes will be coming hopefully around every month. We're aiming for that to enlighten more people in multiple departments as well. This is not only going to be just Parks and Rec, but we thought we'd start here and share more of Fullerton with you guys. So we are very excited to bring you more opportunities and stories about Fullerton. Yeah. Thank you guys.
Thank you.